with you. And I would like to thank you, KIIR, and Dr. Shugufta, and particularly Dr. Rafiq Rathod for bestowing me a favorable chance here. So I do not know what to start, what to highlight, and what should not, because Kashmir is full of agonies and Kashmir is full of miseries. So I believe it's quite injustice for me to deliver my presentation, to speak what I have written and what I have to deliver to about you. But one thing is clear: but as the world is celebrating International Human Rights Day, in Kashmir, such rights have been missing, and we are not enjoying such rights. There is no doubt that the world is, there is no doubt that the world is enjoying such rights, and world is moving forward. And apart from this, I being the part of the conflict zone where where there is no value of rights. I belong to the place where mothers are losing their sons. I belong to the place where everything has been snatched. So much has been written and much has been told about the values of Kashmir. But let me categorically tell you that after the abrogation of Article 317 and 35A, the Kashmiri has lost its identity. And what international community has to do, it has adopted a callous attitude. It has not shown any kind of concern towards the Kashmiri people. And being a journalist, you call this place beautiful paradise on earth. And in my journalistic terms, I call this place the most militarized zone in the world. So there has been a lot of change. So I would like to figure out the APDP, Association of Parents Disabled Persons. It has the record how many people have been disappeared and how many women being gang raped. But I have categorically going through some documents which I would like to bring forth in front of you. I believe after going through the documents from these non-governmental human rights organizations from Kashmir, it has summed it up, it has categorized the record, it has compiled the record in which they are saying that 8,000 people are still missing and there is no word for them. And international community has completely and categorically failed to deliver justice to these people. So going through away from what actually my presentation is all about, I would like to tell you the aftermath of August 370, what the government of India has done. When the government of India has stripped the special status of 370, and there are actually in Kashmir, so far as I reported, there are 11,319 government schools and 198 private schools. These schools were continuously shut, and the basic education of these children were completely snatched. There is no rights in my Kashmir as a journalist that I have observed. Due to the longest curfew, due to students missed their opportunity when it comes to the outside university. As students are trying to get admission in outside world, they have missed that opportunity. And due to continuous clamp down, the minds of students are completely distrust. So undoubtedly, the government of India is launching a kind of attack on the quality education of the people, because we see that right now there is a kind of online education in my valley, and the director of school education has directed the school education to promote the students on online basis. And what kind of education it is, and it is believed that children are the future of nation. When you deprive the education from getting, when you deprive the children from getting basic education, it means it is nothing but the complete attack on the youths. So this was the first experience that I saw in my Kashmir. So gradually, the complete lockdown on Kashmir, it has also affected the tourism sector in my valley of Kashmir. And the KCC believe that, which is Commerce Chambers of Industry, it believed that the Kashmir has lost US dollar $2.4 billion has lost so far. And analysts believe that it could have been doubled, as the government of India has imposed COVID restrictions in Kashmir Valley. So I can say that the cost has now doubled. Coming back to the COVID-19, as we can see, the world is fighting with the COVID-19. The world is fighting for the COVID-19. In fact, the world want to get breakthrough to control the spread of coronavirus. But when it comes to Kashmir, the government of India is using coronavirus, COVID-19, as a cover to suppress more Kashmiri people. And what I saw in my Kashmir, there have been many new land laws are being imposed upon the Kashmiri people. And in fact, the government of India has come up with the issuance of domicile certificates means, after the abrogation of 35A, after the abrogation of Article 370, the government has, the government has issued domicile, as per the Indian Express report, the government has issued 319 lakh domicile certificates, and out of which 15,000 has been issued to the non-state subjects. This is a complete and colonial rule and colonial approach, the government of India, to change the demography of Muslim majority into the minority. So what can I believe that apart from this, there is a now in between, now the government of India has used NIA raids, and NIA, which is the National Investigation Agency. NIA started its raids not only in politicians, not only human rights activists. Now it has raided recently APDP office, which is only the source in Kashmir Valley that can tell us how many people have been disappeared. It is in fact the non-governmental human rights organization which can tell you how many people have disappeared, how many tortured, how many raped. So keeping in all of these things, so I believe that the oppressive tactics are being used against the Kashmiris, and there is no word for the international organization, there is no word for human rights organization. Then apart from this, they can issue only the statement when there is a firefighting situation on the ground, and we have seen that in past as well. Now imposition of the government of India has imposed now new land laws amid coronavirus. How the Indian government is taking advantage of COVID-19, they have imposed new land laws. Taking advantage of COVID-19, the government has imposed, quite apart from restrictions. Now they are, asking the forest dwellers that you are not part of this land, so you had to evacuate this place as early as possible. In fact, we saw what happened in Badgam area, central Kashmir district, where the forest department has issued notes to these people that evacuate this land. In fact, the countless apple trees of the owners were chopped down without any consent. And now I would like to tell you, let me tell you categorically, whensoever the encounters were breaking out between security forces and the militants, the bodies were being given to the parents, the bodies were being given to their families, and they were commemorating, they were performing their last rites. But since the COVID-19 broke out in the entire world, and since the coronavirus hits the valley, the bodies of the militants are not being given to the people. So this is the desecration of the body, and in fact it is the blatant breach of our religious rights. So there is no, even if a journalist can write, so we are not allowed to write. If even the common people cannot protest against these things. And recently the militant's body, the encounter broke out in Shopian, and his body was buried in 125 kilometers away from his home, and her mother has to travel every day to here and there. This can tell you what the situation is going in our Kashmir Valley. So impact of blockade in our religious freedom. So Jamia Masjid, which is a historic masjid in Kashmir Valley, it has been shut 138 days. Apart from this, the massive crackdown has been launched in the religious clerks. In fact, the religious organization has been banned. A top religious organization in Kashmir Valley that's called as Jamaat Islamia, and it has been completely suppressed because it was only the organization which was openly and categorically supporting the voluntary groups, the poor ones. And believe me that it was for the first time in 1600 years, analysts believe that the Eid prayers were not allowed. Even it's happening in coronavirus. So religious processions, how the religious processions have been banned. When the whole Kashmir was under restrictions, there was only one way that the people took out the religious processions. This particularly Shia community hit the roads. When they know that there is political injustice is taking place in the system, and they used the Muharram procession as a tool to highlight their miseries, to highlight their oppression that is being taking place in the system. So what we saw. The brutal force has been used by the state-sponsored agencies to maim these people, to injure these people. So apart from this, we have seen. Let me wait. Now let me tell you important things. Now the press freedom in Kashmir. Since the government of India revoked the special status of Kashmir 370 and 35A, the press freedom in Kashmir has been completely suppressed. Journalism in Kashmir has always been challenging since decades, and reporting truth. What journalists are trying to do, they were always reporting truth, highlighting sexual crimes, and you highlighting sexual crimes, highlighting oppressive tactics on the part of government, and what for this in the entire conflict so far the 19 journalists have lost their lives. There is in Kashmir the press freedom has completely muzzled. Right now, the government of India want to control the thought of Kashmir. That is, thought control is being used. And there's a battle between two narratives. One, the state narrative, and another is local media narrative. State media narrative is only, their way is only that everything is normal in Kashmir. And the government of India wants to send a clear message that there is nothing is happening in Kashmir, nothing has happened in Kashmir, that there is, they maintain the fourth line of narrative that everything is normal in Kashmir. So it was, although that the IFJ International Federation has condemned this brutal assault, but that is not sufficient. There might be the international, Delhi should be pressurized by the international community for violating such rights. And after August 317, and when the Delhi distributed the special status, we saw Kamran Manzoor, Kamran Manzoor, as senior photojournalist, who has been tagged, who has been accused of stone pelter. Even the journalist has work too. They can tell you the stories from the ground. We have Asif Sultan, who is still who has spent 2 years in the jail. There is no word for them. And we have seen the Masrat Zahra's case, who have been booked under UAPA Act. So this can tell you that it is an attack on journalists, what common people can see. And we have seen the Gawhar Gilani, a prominent and top-notch journalist. In fact, the author of Kashmir, Rage and Reason, he was also booked under UAPA. Qazi Shibli, the editor-in-chief of Kashmir, and myself, who was about to, when he knew that the government of India wants to abrogate Article 370, when he knew that he knew the ill intentions of the central government, the government is going to abrogate Article 370, he tweeted, the government of India has decided to revoke the special status of Jammu and Kashmir. And what we saw after tweeting, Qazi Shibli became the first journalist after the revocation of Article 370. He was booked under PSA and has spent 9 months in the jail. So keeping in all of these things, the government of India is suppressing the voice from the Kashmir. Not only this, in India right now, in Indian administered Kashmir, there's a media gag, there's a communication gag, there's press gag. India has literally declared war on the people of Kashmir, and it needs the world attention. Even in being a journalist, I should not have said like these kind of emotions in front of you, but it is the reality from the ground. It should be accepted at any cost, because I have only one thing, that there is suppression, there is oppression, and it should be stopped as early as possible.
Thank you, Irshad. Irshad's emotional presentation on Kashmir